So Fractal introduced this baby North case, which has real wood accents on the front on the intakes. It holds a Raspberry Pi 5, 4, or 3, and it has different inserts for the back for different port layouts, and a cover on top that you can pop off to plug things in like Ethernet and USB. Very cool little case. I covered it in a video on the main channel. After me and Gamers Nexus and Paul's Hardware, pretty much everybody who is on YouTube and everybody who saw this thing is like, we want to get this case. This is such a cute little case. I was hoping that they would release a production case, because otherwise it's like, well, that design will just kind of be in the dustbin somewhere someday. But no, they just announced that they're releasing the 3D design files for this case. So anybody can print one of these. Now, if you want to print it online, different services will charge different amounts, but there's a lot of parts on here. There's like a little ring here, there's the main case, there's the cover, there's the back cover, there's the side, the feet, all this stuff. That makes the 3D printing as a service, those costs are pretty high, like $200, $300. That's kind of insane, so I wouldn't do that. But if you have a 3D printer, or if you want to get into 3D printing, this is a great project for it. In this little video, I'm just going to take the files that they gave me, and I'll show you how I slice them up and get them printed on my 3D printers, which I cover in some previous videos, the setup for them. And I'm also going to try a new filament that I've never tried before. It's a PrusaSlicer. It's PETG 0 or something like that. It's supposed to be like flame resistant, so if you light it on fire, it won't like burn up, it will put the fire out. Which is good for a computer, because computers can get kind of hot. Anyway, let's switch over to the computer and I'll show you how I slice these things up. Fractal actually has a full guide that they put together, which is amazing. Like, how often do you get a well-documented user guide for a 3D model that tells you all the different ways you can put it together and color options and things like that? They recommend that you use PLA, wood, and acrylic. There's a lot of... The cool thing about releasing the designs is people can do whatever they want. They can print it out of raw materials like carbon fiber impregnated plastic, or wood colored filament, or whatever. But they also require a few different parts. There's some threaded inserts, which if you do a lot of 3D printing, you'll have kits of these. If you don't, you might have to buy like 100 pack of these, because they don't usually sell just like 13 of them individually. Technically, you could use just one fan. That'd probably be enough for cooling the Pi. Or if you had a nice little cooler on it, just the ambient air inside the case is enough. That I don't think you even have to have the fans. This isn't like a really simple design. This has a little complexity to it. Which is, it's funny, like it looks simple when you look at it, but really it's a kind of complicated design to hold these slats correctly and all this. And that's like when you have design engineers, sometimes you can over-design things, sometimes you can under-design it. In this case, I think they were just trying to make something really cool. So one of the constraints wasn't like, how can we make it in as few parts as possible? It was, how can we make something look really cool and not spend super amount of time engineering it for just as few parts as possible. So I'm going to start with this, because this is a pretty simple one that we can probably 3D print pretty quickly. If I go to, what should we do it on, the Bambu, or should we do it on the Prusa? Let's see. First, I'm going to turn on the printer. That'd be a good way to start this thing off. I can go to my power control page and I'll turn on the Prusa. We'll do both. Turn on the Prusa and the Bambu. And that'll let me remotely, well, I have the Bambu set up for remote control. I don't have this one set up yet. I don't have my Ender set up for it, and the Ender's kind of slow anyway, so we're not going to use it today. And here's the build plate. So this is called a slicer. And whenever you're 3D printing something, you have to take an STL file. I don't know what that stands for, but it's basically like a 3D model, a very universal format. And where is that? Front bar -.stl. Front bar. So this is that file. And this is just on my Mac. I can preview it. See, that's the file. And it looks like it wants us to print it probably this way, like this side down. Whatever side you print down will have the texture of the surface that you're printing on. So there's different build sheets for printers. Some build sheets are textured, some are smooth, some have different designs on them. I'm just going to use a smooth one, I think, for this to make a nice flat, smooth front. So that's that part, and we need to slice it so that the printer knows how to print it. Printers use something called G-code to print things, and you can't just like shoot this file into the printer and have it print it, because it needs to know how to print it, like which side is up, which side is down. So I'm going to add this object in here, and most of these slicers are very similar in how they work. Open that up, and it's suggesting I print it that way. I could, but the problem is that we have, let me zoom in a little bit. I'm just pinching and pulling to zoom. See these overhangs here? If you try printing these, they'll be kind of soupy on the bottom because 3D printers can't print over air. That's impossible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this, lay on face, and then I'll select the top face here. So you can see all these different options for clicking. Click on here and it basically flips it over so that that's the bottom now. Now the next thing I need to do is clone this, and I think I can just right click and clone, and I want 2 copies. So now I have 3 of them, but that's how I put these things onto the bed. Now I have to actually slice it, and if you click on this, it'll do a slice for you. And how do I hide that? Okay, go away. So you can see how the printer's going to print these. See this? You can go up and down in the slicing. So the first layer will be like that, and then the second layer, third layer, and so you can see how the printer will go. And you can even follow the path of the printer head as it goes. And that's all using G-code. You can see the G-code on the screen here. But I think that looks good. I think that we'll do our first print. I'm going to click Print Plate, and I can select from my AMS what color to do. We'll do orange. We'll do orange and black for this first print. And I'm going to click Send. It's sending it off to the printer through their cloud service. I want to set this all up locally. It's convenient to have this all in the cloud and have it send it through Bambu's cloud servers, but I like having everything local so that I don't have to rely on the internet. Anyway, so that's going to start. It's going to level the bed. It's downloading. And you can even preview it in here. And Prusa has PrusaLink that's similar, so you can see the inside of the printer. So I'm doing this all remotely from my computer, which is really cool. Like 10 years ago, this was really hard to do, and you had to do a lot of custom stuff. But anyway, this one is starting to print. I'm going to go out of there and open up PrusaSlicer. And let's see what else we want to print. Oh man, that's huge. So the next step, we printed 3 of those. Front inner frame, so frontbar.stl. Supports needed, yes. Okay, we're going to do black. We'll go ahead and do black here. So that is called front bar-s. Wait, that's not front bar. That's front bar. Yep, there's a little typo. Ha! Hopefully they can update this PDF. I think that this is probably going to be front inner frame. Yep, there it is. So yeah, it definitely needs supports. You could try printing it. No, you couldn't print it that way because see, you'd have these things floating in midair if you printed it this way. So it's probably best to print it with that side down and then have supports that would be holding this part up. I can just drag and drop like that. And we have that. I hear the Bambu is starting to do its print. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit and drag this over because I'm going to print multiple parts on this bed. So we have that part, front frame, and it's saying do black, front.stl, drag it onto PrusaSlicer. There it is. And we'll stick these over here because I don't know what else I'll be printing on here. Main body, okay. Organic from build plate supports. Okay, we'll do that too. Main body.stl. Pop it in here. And what's the best side to print on first? I'm thinking it'd be best to swap it over. No, maybe this way. Yeah, we'll do this. And then I'm going to do, where's our support options? Supports, here we go. Maybe I need to go into advanced mode. No. How do I change how the supports are done? I want to know how to set up supports. I guess it's just supposed to do it automatically for me. There's no way that I can set like I want organic supports or other kind of supports. But anyway, the point is that you need supports. Otherwise, something like this is not going to print out correctly. It's just going to be a mess. The support will print from the build plate up and kind of hold that up as it's printing. So we'll see what it does when we slice it. But let's see what else we can print on here. Top I/O shield. Drag that in there. And we'll stick it right here. I'm not going to print a side panel for now. I'd like to use an acrylic sheet at some point. I don't have any acrylic here that I could use for it. But I'm just going to leave it open for now because that will give better ventilation anyway and you can see into it fine. Rear panel multi, rear panel pi 4 and 5. We'll do the pi 4 and 5 so it's flexible. Okay, I'm going to rotate this like so. and then move it. Whoa, whoa, I grabbed the bed. Oops. Okay, move it over here. Foot ring. We need 4 of these. And it's saying do gold or brass, so I'm not going to do that one right now. I have little rubber feet. You know, for now I'm going to leave these off, and then we'll figure that out later. Bottom hatch. Okay, bottom hatch. This is the cover for the micro SD card door. I think I can just flip this on its side here. Let me do, where is it? Rotate. I'll do this. Oops. I'll do that. Let's move it a little bit. Okay, what else do we need? Top IO cover, optional. I don't need that because I'll be plugging things into the Pi. Okay, strictly personal use. So don't sell these cases if you buy one. And no damages if you print something and do something dumb with it. So, all right, we got the Prusa thing here, and I'm going to do it in 20mm. Filament is Prusa PETG, I think. I'm going to go ahead and slice it. Let's see what it wants to do. So it wants to do, oh boy, we should probably do build plate only, or I don't know how to do tree slicing in PrusaSlicer. Print settings, here we go. Support material, organic. Okay, so we'll go back to here now and re-slice it. Whoa! Did you hear that? That was thunder and lightning. Okay, so there's organic supports. Those will hopefully work a little bit better. And it's saying that it'll take 10 hours to print. Okay, so I'm going to save that off, export the G code, save it to my downloads, and I'm going to drag that over to the USB drive and bring that over to the Prusa printer. So the Bambu is already starting its print in here. It's kind of hard to see, sorry about the reflection. We'll open that up. So it's already starting right there. And over here we got the Prusa Mark IV, and I'm going to use this PETG V0 Jet Black that's supposedly able to prevent things from catching on fire. Somewhat. Okay, so I need to load that up. Right now I have the Galaxy PLA in here, so I need to pull that out and swap it and grab out a spool of this. Now Prusa sent this to me. I'll mark the video sponsored because they sent this printer and this filament, but this is not about the printer or the filament. I just want to test out the filament and see if it works. At some point I will probably light some of this on fire and I'll actually test it scientifically. And for right now I'm just going to jam it in here because I need to unload the filament. So unloading, waiting for temperature. Okay, here it comes. Just shut it up. And was it successful? Yes. Okay, now we're doing PETG, which uses a little bit higher temperatures. And yes, I haven't eaten those yet. Okay, now it's loading filament. So put it in there. There it goes, it kind of sucked it in a little bit. Loading to the nozzle. Purging. So it should squirt a little bit out there in the end. Let's get focus. There it comes. Okay, and it's saying, do you want to take a little bit more out? I'll do purge a little bit more because we're switching materials, and that could make it. There we go. Okay, so now it's black for sure. Turn, and like I said, I could do this over the network, but I haven't set that up yet, so I just have the USB. Stick it in, and there's our little tray. Look at that. Hit print. And it's gonna print. We'll see how it works. Meanwhile, up on Mr. Bambu, he's almost finished with those things. Holy cow. I mean, they're a very simple thing to print, but this is a very fast printer. I will say that. Fastest 3D printer I've ever personally witnessed, but I'm sure there's faster ones out there. I see them on YouTube. But Bambu is done here, and here comes the bed. It kind of comes down and ceremoniously stops. And then once it cools down a little bit, right now it's like 60 degrees Celsius, so it's a bit hot. I'll let it cool down a couple minutes, and then I'll pop those off. Here we are. This is a smooth sheet, by the way, from Big Tree Tech. They sent this to me to test as well. When they found out I had a Bambu Lab printer, they sent this along and Panda Touch because this screen on here is terrible. It says perfect first layer, but I know PETG is a little bit different than PLA, so we'll see how it turns out after the first layer. Well, the Bambu is sitting there doing nothing, so I'm going to go ahead and print off some of these foot rings in orange, and I'm going to clone 4 of these. 4. Oh, well, I don't need 5. I guess I should have cloned 3 times. And I guess we can do a little pattern like that. Let's click Slice Plate and see what happens. There they are. Go away, thing. Go away, daily tips. How do you turn this off? I don't care about the daily tips. And send. It's a simple print, but in the time that I was coming over here to take a picture of it, it finished the little feet. Look at these cute little guys. There they are. They're just little cylinders, basically. All you guys can sit right there. One thing I noticed as I was closing this up is this little, I call this poop, filament poop. The Bambu puts out a lot of it and usually shoots it into this little chute, the poop chute back there, and it drops out behind. And so every once in a while when I come in, I notice there's a bunch of these little bitty filament poops sitting out back here. It's definitely a bit goopy. I think this model might work better in PLA, but we'll see. We'll give it a few more hours and make sure that things are looking okay. Okay, I gotta head out for the night. There's still a few hours left on this. Let's see, 6 hours left. So tomorrow morning I'll come back and see how this turns out. There's definitely stringing going on. Apparently that's a common thing with PETG and there's ways to correct it, but I think these prints will still turn out. We'll see in the morning. I'll definitely have to do a little bit of cleanup, brushing them and stuff, but I also have to add the heat set inserts and things, so we'll see how that turns out in the morning. Well, I'm back, and things definitely look interesting in here. I'm going to take these prints off and clean them up and see what we end up with. I'll try to pop these off the plate. Come on. There's definitely a lot of goop here. They're not coming off as easy as I thought they would, but they are coming off somewhat. There's a lot of mess in these. I think that these might not end up being usable. You can see that the supports are kind of melded in. So yeah, this is my first time ever printing PETG, and I think I did it a little wrong. I wouldn't say this is the printer's fault. I would say this is a Jeff Geerling fault. Yeah, I'm guessing this is just gonna, well, there goes that part entirely. The finish quality is pretty good here. The surface quality is not bad, but I think that the supports with this material, with this particular print, did not turn out all that well. This is 3D printing in a nutshell for you. And these parts, well, that part, everything except for the supports came off. This is the front part that everything snaps into. I think I'm going to reprint this all in Galaxy PLA, and we'll see if that fares any better. That was a failure. But, well, that one's done too. Yeah. Things are not looking so hot for this build plate. I am not able to get pieces off of it. Luckily there's another side to it, but I still need to get all this stuff off, which is proving to be quite a fun task. Welcome to 3D printing. We're not going to talk about what happened to this side of the sheet. We're going to flip it over and act like that print never happened, and we're going to switch it over to the Galaxy PLA Black. That PETG also did a number on the hot end. It looks like Venom is taking that thing over. Wow. Okay, attempt number 2 now. Let's get that in there. Okay. PLA instead of PETG. Print. And here it goes. I'll see it 10 hours later. Okay, so you know how they say read the instructions? There's a few things I did wrong with the PETG V0. I didn't use the right sheet, so I used the smooth sheet, and it says like don't do that because it could adhere too strongly, which it did. But Oh, well, that one's done too. It also mentions that stringing is a common issue with this filament. So if you're going to use that filament, probably split the parts up and print them one by one and try to do prints where you don't need supports, like organic tree supports like that, because that's going to create a lot of extra stringing. Anyway, you live and you learn. That's 3D printing, and you usually waste about $2 or $3 in filament every time that you learn. This is looking a lot better. I think that these prints will actually work, and the other ones didn't so much. And I won't just have 2 usable parts, I'll have all the usable parts. Okay, we're on day 3 of this print, and this time almost everything is good except for a little stringing here. I don't know why the supports decided to do one side but not the other there, but yeah. Oh, you know what? Look at that. There was a support over there. It just popped off at some point. That's one downside to having my 3D printers below the space where there's some airflow. I'm guessing that that airflow might have made this little base pop off of the bed. But anyway, I'll get these off, and the next step is to get some heat set inserts in here. Okay, we got all our 3D printed parts, and only drew a little bit of blood while I was pulling all the supports off of this guy. I think if I were to do this again, I would do it a little more methodically with the supports and not just do them everywhere. Oh, there's another one right here. It's better to get these off with tools and not your fingers, because I almost broke a fingernail just now doing that. Oh, there's another piece over here. Okay, I think that's all the supports. That was a arduous task. Luckily, only one little bit of blood drawn. The next step is putting in some heat set inserts. All these little screw holes. They are made for screw-in heat sets, but I don't have screw-in ones. I have these. These might work, but I'm going to try the M2 ones over here. These usually come in large kits like this, and these are the kind that you solder in with a soldering iron. So the heat sets, what you want to do if you're ever designing a model is you have the hole be just about the exact same size as the little knurling, the little bumps on these guys. It's kind of hard to see, but there they are. And then you use a soldering iron, and you kind of force it down into the hole, and then it kind of melts into the plastic. So we're going to try that. I'm going to switch out tips. This is my normal soldering iron tip, but they make these special tips, like I have a Weller here. And what it does is it fits inside of this little heat set a little bit. Well, not this one, it's too small. But it pushes down on it a little more uniformly. We could just use this one. The thing is, you want to transfer as much heat as you can from the soldering iron tip into the heat set. So I'm just going to use this tip that I have on here. It's almost rounded. It's kind of a flat tip. And I'll turn on the soldering iron, get it up to 650 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'll get 4 of these ready. 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's zoom in on this process so you can see what I'm doing. Looks like the soldering iron is heated up. So let's take it out, and then I'm going to put this onto the hole and try to transfer as much heat as I can into this little guy. And see, it just slides down in there, and then take it out. I'll do number 2. Be careful not to touch any other parts of the 3D print while you're doing this, because you will melt them, because it's plastic. Do number 3. That one went in a little cockeyed. Okay, we got 4 in there. Number 1. These are a little tougher because they're not quite on the same axis of the print. Get in there. Heat sets are always a little tricky. The screw-in ones are easier to get in and out, but they sometimes come back out because they deform the plastic in different ways. These heat sets usually stay in there okay. So now I have all the heat sets in. These are M2, I think. So I'll need to find some M2 screws to use with them. Looks like this piece goes, no, not like that. You know what? I think I put those screws on there, and I just found I have 4 more. So these are actually for these. And then this is the bottom. Oh, there's one more heat set that goes into here, so I'll have to do that as well. Okay, these are all going better than expected, which is good. Okay, we got all those in. And now it's time to assemble this case. So let me go find some screws. In my infinite wisdom, I have never purchased a pack of M2 screws. This is an M25, which was miscategorized in my M2 bin, and it does not fit. So I actually do not have any screws for this. So this will be the screwless version of the design, but we can still kind of dry fit everything together. This is the back plate, which goes on here. There's 4 screws around it. This is the top, which goes, it slots in from the back. So first you have to do this. I think it's this way for the Pi 5, like that. And then the back goes on. And I don't have the acrylic side on here. This is the front, like this. Yep. These little foot spacers, I don't know what they're called. They just kind of go on the feet like this to make it look cool. Okay, so we got 4 of those. This looks like it goes into here, yeah, like that. And then there's a little screw that retains that, which again, I do not have. And in the front here, these guys go. Looks like you might have to glue these down because they're not really retained in there that much. Of course, they're sliding out because I don't have any glue on them. I could use Gloop for that. And then here's the bottom cover. Let's see if that fits on there. Ooh, that's a tight fit, but it works. And that's the case, which, yeah, definitely glue these on. That's our print, and that's so cool that Fractal decided to release this design to the public instead of just sitting on it and never taking it to production. So thumbs up for that, and give a thumbs up for the video too. See you later. Okay, I couldn't leave you hanging. I have some Gloop here that I got from Open Sauce. Did you know that they make this just across the river from me? I think they're opening a new factory soon, so it'd be cool if I could go and see that sometime. But for now, I'm just gonna paint on some of this Gloop here, here, and here. Use in a well-ventilated area. Well, I have my HVAC that runs sometimes, so I'll count that. Should probably paint both sides, but honestly, I don't think, oh crud. Okay, well, that was not supposed to happen. Oh boy. Well, now we have Gloop on the surface, which I don't know how the surface will react to that. But that is also why I have a paper towel here, which will hopefully not turn into part of the surface. Look at that. That's actually not so bad. I need more paper towels though. So shout out to whatever this ESD surface is. It's also Gloop tolerant for at least a minute or so. Let's get this last piece and hopefully not knock over the Gloop this time. Okay, so there you have it. The nice front to the case. I could also probably Gloop these little feet on, but honestly, I might go with a different color for the feet. Or I don't know, maybe we could make like a neon pink and orange version for retro. But this is a cool case. I'm glad that Fractal has released the design files. You live and you learn, and this looks kind of cool in Galaxy Black and Orange. I'm not ashamed of how that looks. That looks nice. And I also learned that I need to do the right thing when I'm printing those PETG V0 filaments. And I'll do that better next time, and I'm going to make a phone call, so this video is actually done now.